What's going on, Stack Town Podcast? I'm Ray.
And I'm Jared.
Welcome to another episode of that podcast.
So, guys, welcome to episode 2 of our series of me and Ray, where we break down every single NFL team going into next season. We're going to break down their draft. We're going to break down their roster. We're going to break down what we think is going to happen, what we think their record is going to be, just some comments about the team. We're going to give grades, all that stuff. We did the last video about our team, the Niners. Go check it out. It's a good one. We decided to do the Niners because we're Niners fans. We wanted to actually delve deep into our team. So what we're going to be doing for the remainder of the series is we're going to be doing 2 teams per day. Me and Ray chose the Giants and the Raiders. But for the rest of this series, we're going to ask one person who we know. We're going to ask one person for a team, and then we're going to pick the other team. So stay tuned for the next episode coming out soon. If you have any comments, Ray, to get into before we start, go ahead. If not, then we'll get right into the draft. the draft.
So I'm just gonna just kind of sum up what Jared said. We're gonna rank the first 4 picks that the team did, or the picks we feel like are gonna be an impact to the team, and then we're gonna just do an overall view of their their offseason free agency draft, and then rank. Just give a record, throw it up in the air. Obviously, it probably won't be right. You don't know how a team's going to play, but just educated guess on what we feel is going to happen. So, Jared?
Oh, yeah, another thing is that, injuries are huge, too. Injuries can happen, too. And by the way, if it's not clear, we are trolling the living shit out of the Giants. I have a Victor Cruz jersey on from when he was on the Giants. Ray's wearing his Beckham shirt, but he's not on the Giants anymore, in case you didn't know. Yeah. Okay. So, we're gonna start. We're gonna start the Giants. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So with the Giants' first pick, 6th pick in the draft, they selected quarterback Daniel Jones out of Duke. I rate this pick a D+, and it's not for the reasons that people are thinking. Okay. So let me start with the positives first. I guess in motorcycle science, he wants to ride the next street. So there are positives to this pick, okay? So, one, the Giants addressed their biggest need. They needed a quarterback. Eli Manning, I'm not going to call him a bum. I don't think he's that good anymore. I'm not going to call him a bum because he still has 2 Super Bowls. But they were clearly going in the wrong direction. In my personal opinion, they kept Eli way too long, and that's why the Giants are where they're at right now. So, they got a quarterback in the draft. The only other thing about him that I will say that I like about him is that he's a leader. Okay, he's a leader. That's really it. Other than that, it's a shit pick. For one, they got him at number 6. They selected Daniel Jones at number 6. Now, the Giants GM thought process behind it was, okay, he's my favorite guy in the draft. Let me get him before other teams get him. Newsflash, no team wanted Daniel Jones in the first round. I can promise you that. They could have waited until round 2 to pick Daniel Jones up. And at that 6th pick, they could have selected a player that would actually have a better impact than a guy who in college completed 59% of his passes and couldn't even outthrow Dwayne Haskins in touchdowns. Now, I'm not a scout. I'm not going to get into the X's and O's. So I don't know what the Giants GM saw in Daniel Jones. But if Daniel Jones is his guy and he's so set on drafting him, they could have waited until the 2nd round. They didn't need to waste the number 6 pick on him, on a guy who isn't that talented. They could have selected a defensive player or somebody else that would actually help the team. And it's an awful pick. But like I said, I don't necessarily consider him a shit player or a player that's going to be not good in the NFL. I think he'll be a good backup to an average starter. So somebody like
Ryan Tannehill,
Blake Bortles, Andy Dalton. They selected him too high. They could have got Haskins, who was a much better pick, and the Giants GM is just so bad. It's so bad.
All right. With this pick, I give it an F. I'm sorry. This was Daniel Jones. I'm not hating on the guy, but He doesn't have a ceiling. His ceiling, well, he does, but it's not very high. He just doesn't have a very high ceiling. You just don't take a guy like that with the six. You don't do it. He was a third-round talent, if you ask me, and that's even stretching it a little bit. He played at Duke. Duke is not a football college. It's a basketball college. I get it. His receivers and tight ends didn't do him any justice, but he's an athletic quarterback, but he doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have the QB intelligence and Aaron Rodgers. He's
He's a dumbed down version of Eli Manning, pretty much.
it's just like they did this obviously for Eli. It was a horrible pick. They should have picked Josh Allen easily. I feel like pass rusher was much more of a need. They're gonna sit this guy for 3 years and pay him Google money to sit him, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, it's gonna be like a Favre Rodgers thing." Do not make that comparison. Aaron Rodgers, I still think even if he didn't sit behind Favre, would have been a great quarterback because he just had skill and QB knowledge. Daniel Jones is nowhere near that, and Eli Manning is nowhere near Brett Favre. So for Giants fans to try to make that comparison, it's just wrong. This is an F. They should have put Josh Allen or Ed Oliver. It's a horrible pick. I'm gonna move on. It was just not a smart decision.
What I'm laughing about so much is the fact that the GM said that they're gonna sit him for 3 years. That makes no sense. You drafted a guy to be your franchise quarterback, and you're not gonna give him a chance to prove it.
Sorry, Giants fan.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Saquon Barkley. I feel so bad for him. He's so okay. Yeah. Okay. So they had a pick in the first round again. Was it 17 or 15? I think it was 17.
Start off with this one. So at pick 17, the Giants took Dexter Lawrence. I'm giving this pick a D+. He's not a bad player. It's just he does not need to be on the Giants. First of all, he doesn't fit their scheme. They already have Dalvin Tomlinson. They're going to have to move Dalvin Tomlinson to the pass rush, and then they're going to have 3 pass rushing or 3 run stopping players on the line and no 3 run stoppers, no pass rush. So they should have took like Montez Sweat instead. Second of all, they gave up one. Like you could argue one of the best defensive tackles in Damon Harrison for a 5th round pick, and then you're gonna pick up this guy with pick 17 in the draft. And just to give you I know this doesn't I'm not gonna put this towards the draft because it's not the guy's fault, but they gave up Odell, top 3 receiver in the league. One of the biggest ceilings, one of the younger prospects that just has so much potential still, for Jabril Peppers and Dexter Lawrence. Just think about that. So I'm not hating on the guy. I through the Giants' eyes, he's just not a fit on the team. I think there was other players on the board that were a much bigger fit, like Montez Sweat. So yeah, it's a D+ for me.
They traded Odell Beckham Jr., Olivier Vernon for Dexter Lawrence and Jabril Peppers.
And Kevin Zeitler.
It wasn't like Odell wasn't in his prime. Odell's barely in his 20s. So I give this a C-, a little bit better than yours, but just for the reason they don't need him. They already have B.J. Hill, who actually is a good player. They have Dalvin Tomlinson, whatever his name.
Mm-hmm.
They could have. It's just he's not very talented. He's overweight. He's from what I heard, he's out of shape. It's a very Giants pick. Dave Gettleman said that they're not going to draft for need. They're going to draft the best player available. So they drafted Daniel Jones at 6. Then they drafted Dexter Lawrence at 17, who wasn't the best player at the 17th pick. Wasn't the best player. It wasn't even close. You've already hit it, so I'm not even really going to get into it. I want to get into the next pick. This is actually a really good pick. Deandre Baker, cornerback from Georgia. I give this an A-. Okay. They traded Eli Apple. Do they still have Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie? I don't remember.
The Redskins.
No. That it was a good draft. It was a good pick. I like DeAndre Baker. He's they're trying to build a defense, and I can see what they're trying to do, and it's in a way it makes sense. I think at that particular pick, that was the best player available. DeAndre Baker is a really nice player. They needed a cornerback. Um, it's the only pick in the first round they got right to me. I would have selected him if he was on the board too. He's very talented too. Like I heard a lot of people saying that they're not comparing him to Greedy Williams and his contemporaries, and I think it's BS. I like the pick. I think the Giants needed a corner because their defense was horrid last year, and they still suck, but that was a good pick. So I give it an A-.
Yeah, I give it an A- as well. I still think Byron Murphy was the better cornerback. I think he's a little bit more physical. He's a little bit bigger. But DeAndre Baker was a good pick. They needed defensive help. It's pretty hard to get a pick wrong after you pick Daniel Jones at 6 and Dexter Lawrence at 17. But out of their
I don't know.
picks, he was definitely the best. So I give it an A-. And then going on with with the pick they made in the third round, I'm gonna butcher this name, but I think it's Oshane Yaminis. I think Oshane Yaminis.
Yeah.
So from what I've heard, he's actually a very good pass rusher, and watching Giants fans' reactions, they actually like this pick a lot. So I'm gonna give this a B+. For the third round, it seems like he was pretty good value. They needed pass rush. I mean, I feel like they could have got it more on Josh Allen or Montez Sweat, but a good defensive end in the third round never hurts.
I give it a B- for the same reasons that you said. I'm not gonna go too in depth to this pick because I don't care about it. But the only reason why it's a good pick is because the value at the third round. That's the best pop. That's the best that you can do. No Pierre Paul. They have like 6 defensive tackles for some reason. So I guess drafting an edge rusher was good. So I get a B-. So overall,
Wait, one more. I know we said we were only going to do 4, but I feel like the best pick in this draft actually came for the Giants came in the 4th round when they picked Julian Love, cornerback from I think Notre Dame. Julian Love, I think, had a 81 grade from I think it was Mel Kiper or from ESPN. So to get an 81 grade player in the 4th round, especially at cornerback, pretty good value. I give that an A+ actually. Best pick in the draft for me by the Giants. Go ahead, Nick. Finish. All right, go ahead, Jared. Finish it off.
So I rate their draft a C+. Now looking at it, I would give it a C instead. There are some horrible picks, them being their first 2 picks, but I think their last 3 picks make up for it in certain fashions. They're gonna have 2 really good corners for building stones for their defense. That's pretty good. I like O'Shawn. I'm not gonna say his last name.
You minute.
So they're So if I don't see how this draft can work out for the Giants. I don't see any scenario in which their draft picks can contribute. Daniel Jones supposedly isn't going to be playing. They have 3 defensive tackles. I don't know what they're going to do with Lawrence. Baker and Love, that's going to be a nice combo. But other than those 2 cornerbacks, I don't see any potential with this. And I just don't really see any of these rookies doing much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I rate it a C-. When you take Daniel Jones and Dexter Lawrence, who aren't going to help your team that much, with your first 2 picks in the first round, high picks, you can't give it better than a C. So I give it a C-. They totally butchered what they said when they said they're going to go best potential. It was just a bad draft. Definitely to me the worst draft of the night. So I might even think about giving it a D+. it's a horrible draft. They did horrible, and in the future or next year with the roster they have, I give them 2 wins. Honestly, I think they pick number 1 next year, and I give them 2 wins.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna go 5-11 this year. I have some reasons. For one, they are not completely devoid of talent. They have a stud wide receiver in Sterling Shepard. They have a really good tight end in Evan Ingram. They have what I consider to be in
Best one.
2-3 years the best running back in football. Could argue for him being the best right now. It sounds crazy, but anybody can argue with me, and I will make a case for him. They have an improved offensive line. Their defense is getting building blocks. But where this team falls short is the quarterback is not going to take them very far. You can be a really good coach team you can be a very well coached team with very talented players, but their defense is piss poor. They didn't address their pass rush very well. Their linebackers are old and not very talented. Their secondary they lost Lennon Collins. By the way, they could have franchise tagged him for a cheap and then re-sign him. Wow, amazing GM. So their secondary is going to be gutted with a bunch of rookies. But I'm going to give them 5 wins because the division they're playing in, it's a little shaky. You never know is it the NFC East? Yeah, NFC East. You never know with that division. The Eagles, they're supposed to be really good this year, but you never know. The Redskins are led by a rookie quarterback. The Cowboys the Cowboys get suspended every single year. It's kind of like if the division was tough, I'd give them 3 or 2 wins. But they're playing in a weak division, and I think Saquon Barkley alone can get him at least 3 wins on his own. That's how good he is. So they're gonna have a horrible defense, probably ranked in the bottom 20. Their offense will probably be somewhere from the mid, 10 to 15 because their running game is going to be pretty good. But, yeah, I don't have high hopes for this team at all. So if you want, I can start with the Raiders.
I'll start with the Raiders.
Okay.
So, as you may know, me and Jared are not the biggest. We're not the biggest Raider fans. I don't despise the Raiders, but I don't like them. But with the first pick or the first round, 4th pick in the first round, the Raiders took Clelin Ferrell. I honestly didn't hate the pick. They reached a lot for him, but like some guy I heard said, if that's your player and you want him, it's not a reach. It's just if that's the player that you want and you feel like he's not going to be there next time, it's not a reach. And I confirmed that they tried to what it was, but they just didn't do it. So they took him. It was a reach, but I think Clelin Ferrell's a big leader. He's going to be a big leader for the Raiders defense. I'm not saying he's going to like take what Khalil Mack did and replace it and do the same thing or do better, but I do think he'll get a lot of sacks on that defense. He'll play good. He'll play good, and I give the pick overall a B.
You and I fall very differently on this pick. I give this pick a C. Now, I like Clelin Ferrell. He was one of the best pass rushing. He was one of the best ranked pass rushers before Bosa became popular and Sweat or all those guys became popular. Quentin Williams. So I give it a C. For one, I don't think he's polished. I'll give him that. He's got a polished game, but his ceiling isn't very. His ceiling is not Nick Bosa. His ceiling is not Quentin Williams. His ceiling is not Ed Oliver. So with the 4th pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 4th pick they selected Clelin Ferrell. I don't think that pick is 4th overall pick worthy. he'll probably get around 7, 8 sacks, which is nice. I don't think he's really going to make a whole much of an impact on the defense. They could have had Allen. They could have had Oliver. They could have had
not to you, but from what I've heard, Josh Allen and Ed Oliver actually have the same agent as Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. So I think the Raiders didn't really want to work with Josh Allen and Ed Oliver because they had the same agent. I'm not saying that's a good reason, but I think the Raiders really want to stir away from that mess that happened in the past, and they want to go with new guys. But go ahead.
They could have gotten a player that could have done more for their franchise. I believe in Derek Carr, so I don't think they should have got Haskins. They could have done other things. They could have upgraded the offensive line. So what they could have done is they could have traded that pick down and get more first-round picks. They could have addressed the defensive line in a more impactful way. They needed line. They just needed so many more positions, and that's fine. They got an edge rusher, but there wasn't an edge rusher that's going to change their franchise. I just think it's a crap pick. I don't hate on Clelin Ferrell, but not at number 4. I don't think the value's there.
All right. With pick, what was it?
Oh, hold on. One thing that I wanted to address. You were talking about how you don't hate on it because they drafted their guy, and you're saying that because they drafted their guy, that it's not a reach, correct? Isn't that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same logic the Giants use, that's the same logic the Giants use. They wanted their guy at number 6. They reached, and you had a problem with it. I had a problem with it. Clelin Ferrell was their guy.
It's a little different though, because Clelin Ferrell was a first-round talent. Daniel Jones was not.
Yes, Clelin Ferrell was a first-round talent. Clelin Ferrell was not a top 5 talent. He wasn't even a top 10 talent.
Top
he was. I can name 10 guys that were more talented and are gonna have more of an impact than Clelin Ferrell. I don't.
Difference. This is the difference. The Raiders didn't pick again until pick 24, correct? They knew he was going to be off the board, and that's who they wanted. Daniel Jones, no one was going to take him by pick 17. Nobody. The Giants say someone was going to, but I think that was just so they don't look as bad, obviously. They just want to say, oh, someone was going to take him, so that's why we picked him. That's the different logic between the two. That's the difference.
I don't. If they wanted Clelin Ferrell so bad, they could have traded down. I mean, realistically, how far did you think he was gonna? He could have dropped to.
I told you they tried to trade down, but no one wanted to trade down with them.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. But since we have more picks to get into, if we want to touch up on it later, we can get into it. The second pick, running back from Alabama, Josh Jacobs. I give it a C. Now, running backs are really tricky to draft because this one was not stacked with running backs at all, and I don't like the pick. They could have signed a running back in free agency. They could have signed a better one. Instead, they draft a guy in the second round when they could have gotten other positions.
First round.
Josh Jacobs didn't, huh?
Was it the first round or the second round?
Oh, excuse me. It was their second pick. I mean not. We're going by their 4 picks. He was their second pick in the draft. So if he turns out to be a home run, that's cool. I will be wrong, but I don't think he has home run potential. If you're going to use a first round pick on him, he better be like Barkley potential. I don't think his ceiling isn't very high. I've seen him run. He's not that impressive. I don't think he was worth a first round pick. They could have went defense. They could have went offensive line because Derek Carr is going to need help. They could have went anywhere else but running back. Josh Jacobs would have fell to the second round, to the early second round, maybe. So I don't like the pick, but I can see why they did it because Marshawn Lynch retired, but he's just not very impactful to me.
I disagree with you completely on this pick. And I can already tell we're going to disagree with everything in this draft. I think this was a great pick for the Raiders. He was a first round talent for a reason. The Raiders, their biggest and glaring need, other than pass rush, was a running back. They signed Isaiah Crowell, who's old, and he already tore his ACL, so he's going to be out. Jalen Richard, he catches. He's a good catcher. He's good at catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage and getting a lot of yards after the catch, but he's not a pure runner. Josh Jacobs, he wasn't used that much in Alabama because of Bryce Love and their passing game, so he has super fresh legs. I know you've heard that a lot from draft analysts. He has fresh legs, and he's a good runner. I don't know why you don't see that, but he's a good running back, and he has a lot of potential. You're not going to take a running back in the first round that doesn't have a lot of potential. I think the Raiders. I agree with you though. I think he would have fell to the second round, especially when the Eagles picked Andre Dillard. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. I give this pick a B, and I think he'll be surprised when he rushes for 1,100 yards next year.
Their number two need wasn't a running back.
Yeah, it was.
It was an offensive line. Derek Carr was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league last year. Their number two need was not running back. They needed an offensive line, then they needed a defensive line. Excuse me, defensive line, offensive line, secondary.
Nope, I disagree. You know why? Offensive line, they picked Trent. They picked up Trent Brown free agency, and that's who they.
Trent Brown.
That's who they feel is going to impact their offensive line. They got him on the left side now, and Colton Miller on the right side now. They have Rodney Hudson, who is debatably a top 3 center in the league. Gabe Jackson is a good guard. I don't think offensive line was that glaring of a need for them. And
why was Derek Carr one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league last year?
They have 2 rookies as their tackles. And
Trent Brown isn't that good. New England got rid of him, and then Oakland made him the most highest paid tackle in the league. He was trash on the Niners. He was good in New England because he played for Bill freaking Belichick. He goes to the Raiders and gets paid all this money.
Don't use that argument. I get everybody's all like, oh, he was just a product of the Patriot system. We don't know that. Let's see how he plays. For now, they think that's their guy, so let's see how that plays out. And that need at offensive line wasn't that big. You're not going to sign someone and be like, oh, but we still need a tackle. No, they need a running back. They don't have a number 1 running back on that team. And Josh Jacobs is going to be that number 1 running back on the team now.
Was Trent Brown worth $66 million on the Niners? No, he wasn't.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need an offensive lineman. They addressed that need in free agency, and they already had Rodney Hudson.
Telling me, I hate this pick. You're telling me that Josh Jacobs is so much better than the next running back that they had to take him in the first round. Yeah, see, that's no. I agree with this one
in the first round, but I still like the pick, and I'm giving it a B.
If this pick were in the second round, I give it an A.
Hey, think about this.
Not.
Now that they have Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams, their offense is so stacked and spread out that it's going to be hard to just pinpoint one specific action that a defense needs to do. They're going to double team Antonio Brown. Tyrell Williams is going to be open. And wide receivers getting open causes running backs to fit into holes and find different holes. I'm just saying.
How's their defense, right?
They addressed their defense. You act like they didn't pick 2 defensive players in the first round.
Their defense was bottom of the league last year, and you think 2 players is going to make their defense better? They signed nobody significant on the defensive end. They overpaid. They overpaid for a tackle that's not all that good. They overpaid for a wide receiver who is a diva and is going to be out of his prime by the time Oakland is good.
But everything ought to field away. Antonio Brown is the best wide receiver in the league. You can't argue with that.
Yes.
He's an hardest worker, and I don't care if he's a diva. He's going to produce for the Raiders. Trent Brown, I understand that he's overpaid, but he is a bulldog on the field. He is strong. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have a great season, but if that's who the Raiders feel like is going to take that left tackle spot and run with it, then let them be. Defensively, they picked up Vontaze Burfict and Brandon Marshall. Those are 2 starting linebackers. You laugh, but those are
Vontaze Burfict, the guy who played like 2 games a season because he's always getting suspended.
Hey, if he's on the field, we're not counting injuries or nothing. He's a player. He's a good player. And Brandon Marshall, don't forget his days with the Broncos. If he can produce like that, he will be a good pickup for the Raiders.
Okay, well, we still have 2 more picks to get to, so let's just move on.
Pick 30, pick 27 in the first round. The Raiders pick Jonathan Abram. I'm giving this pick an A. He is a hard hitter. He's gonna have leadership on the field. I get he's like I say, he's similar to Carl Joseph, but Carl Joseph isn't good. This is the guy they wanted, and he's really gonna lock up the secondary. I think they'll either cut Carl Joseph or trade him. I give this pick an A. He's a dog on the field. If I had to comp him to anybody, maybe like a Justin Reed from the Texans. He's gonna be a good player, and I think best safety in the draft. They get the best running back in the draft, the best safety in the draft. It's an A for me.
I give it a fucking C.
A C?
Again. Now, here's the part that I like. They addressed the defense in the secondary. That's fine. They could have gotten other guys that would be more of an impact at a higher impact position. They could have gotten Deandre Baker. Excuse me, I'm dumb. They could have gotten Julian Love, who I like. They could have gotten Greedy. They could have gotten Greedy Williams. They didn't get Greedy Williams. They could have gotten all these guys, and instead they pick up a safety.
Did you just say Julian Love? Julian Love fell to the 4th round. There's a reason.
So I'm telling you, instead of picking Abrams, they could have picked Love, who I think would have been a better player for the Raiders. I don't like them taking a safety when they could be taking a cornerback or a linebacker. Their linebacking core sucks. I don't care how much of a dog you think Vontaze Burfict is. He is not a good player. He's not on the field. He's not reliable. He's injury prone. I don't want to hear that. They need linebackers. They need cornerbacks. Their safeties are decent.
Hey, at that pick, what linebacker do you want them drafting? There was no good linebackers at that spot.
You know what? If we want to throw out what we're thinking, they could have got Dre Greenland, that guy that you love so much. They could have gotten him.
He was a 5th round pick. They're not going to pick him in the 1st round.
Well, you had him rated so.
Yeah, because he's good. He's a gem in a later round. He's not meant to be picked in the 1st round. Jonathan Abram was the best safety in the draft. He is. I can't stress this enough.
Deontay Thompson
fell to the 5th round. He had a great beginning of the season for Alabama, but just dropped off. There's a reason why he fell too, because he's a prospect. He's a high prospect guy, but he definitely has a.
The Raiders building for now, or are they building for the future? Now, before you answer that question, I want to point out to you how dysfunctional the Raiders are. Okay. Now, they sign if they're building for the future. They don't sign Trent Brown to a 4-year deal. They don't sign an aging Antonio Brown to a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
They don't sign all these veteran players to deals. If the Raiders are building, hold on. John Gruden was signed for 10 years. Am I not mistaken?
Yes.
Then they got Mike Mayock, who I think is very good at scouting. I don't like. He's a crap GM so far. If they're gonna build for the future, they might as well pick Deontay Thompson, who they can mold into the player that they want him to be over a future. The Raiders have been a laughingstock for God knows how long. They are signing and drafting players for right now instead of building for the future. The only player on the roster that I like is Derek Carr for their future.
Okay, First of all, you sound stupid. I hate the Raiders, and I'm taking their back right now. First of all, Trent Brown is still super young. He's not older. So signing him to a long-term contract for the future is not a bad idea. He's what, like 23, 24? Antonio Brown, the only reason why they drafted him was to bring a little spark going into Las Vegas. That's why they did it. For the Raider fans to be hyped going to Las Vegas. Jonathan Abram is a leader on the field, and he is a hard hitter, and that's what the Raiders like. They like hard hitters. That's why they got Vontaze Burfict, and that's why they picked up Clelin Ferrell for his leadership.
Is that the only thing that matters in football is being able to hit hard?
We're talking about a strong safety right now. Strong safeties, you want them to lay the wood. Ronnie Lott, Troy Polamalu, both those guys were hard hitters. Now, both of them were good at ball hawking. I don't know about if Jonathan Abram is, but from what I've heard, he is a good ball hawk too. Deontay Thompson is a 5th-round pick for a reason, okay? You can't just say, oh, they should pick Deontay Thompson so they can mold him into the player they want. They could do that with Jonathan Abram. That's why he's young.
He's not as talented as Deontay Thompson.
Yeah, that's why he was a 1st-round pick and Deontay Thompson was a 5th-round pick.
You watch. I promise you, Abrams will not be with the Raiders that long. I can promise you that. The GM is dysfunctional so far. The coach is piss poor. The way they manage, they're signing a player. You know what? Let's just get into the next pick. I don't want to get into how bad the Raiders are.
Next pick really fast. Travon Mullen. He's a good corner. I give it a B-. We're ending this episode. People in the comment section, tell me how you feel about
wait. We're not done. That wasn't even their last. I was thinking about the other guy they got. They got Max Crosby.
Oh, he's a good pick too.
No, we didn't even go over their record. We still have to go over their record, okay? But you'll be surprised, okay? I think the Raiders will have an improved season. They will probably go, I'm betting 6-10, which is not a bad season for a rebuilding, improving team, okay? Look, they have some nice pieces, okay? I like Derek Carr. I like Tyrell Williams. Antonio Brown's obviously a top 2 receiver. Like I said, I'm a Julio guy. But I can see why you would say that he's better. Because he probably is better. But I like Julio more. Because Julio isn't a drama queen. Julio puts his head down and works every single day. Julio, not that Brown doesn't, but Julio doesn't get involved with that crap. That's why I like Julio. I like some of their pieces. I like Clelin Ferrell. I don't like where they picked him. I think they will have a very good offense. I think they will get shredded. And also, think about the division they play in. Chargers are a perennial playoff team. The Chiefs were the best team in the AFC outside of New England. Yes, they lost Hunt. They might lose Tyreek Hill. Their defense is gutted. But Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to figure out a way to win the division. And they're playing with the Broncos. Now, the Broncos are a tough team. Don't just count out the Broncos. They're a tough team. Their quarterback is a guy named Joe Flacco. He sucks. But they have Philip Lindsay, or however you say his name. He's good. They have a good pass rush, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. They have nice players. So the Raiders they'll be somewhat last in their division. But they'll have an improved season. But they'd be so much better if they would have made the right picks, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it.
I give them 5-11 if they played in a different conference, maybe. But like you said, the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Denver Broncos are all going to be competing. So I give them 5-11. I mean, I disagree with you, but I feel like we both got our points in the video. So I'm gonna leave it up to our viewers in the comment section on who you agree with. Do you agree with me, who thinks that the Raiders draft picks actually weren't that bad? Or do you agree with Jared that they took bad players? Leave a like, grind with us. Thank you for watching. Niners all day.
See you guys.